Let me start off by saying that Inuyashiki is by no means a bad show. It is a very ambitious project, and I'm happy that ambitious projects like these end up becoming successful, proving that recycling the same trash is not the only way to produce profitable media. My quarrels with Inuyashiki is that it is not personally appealing to me, especially considering that story-wise, it has a lot of pieces that make up some of my favorite shows. My reasons for not liking Inuyashiki are my exact reasons I like anime. It all comes down to emotion. For example, the way human suffering is conveyed varies from media to media, as each medium has its own strengths, limitations, and capabilities that it needs to keep track of, along with a focus audience who are looking for something stylistically specific when viewing the reactions of their special familiars to the pain put by them by the story's narrative. Live-action film is very limited in its ability to control color and other aesthetic elements of the background, and as a result, it usually plays on its strengths by taking advantage of the fact that real people are portraying these characters, and thus hinges the conveyance of suffering on their acting. And once you really look at it, almost every moment of emotional resonance Inuyashiki attempts to make with its viewers is done solely through realistic facial animation. And that's only the start of explaining my dissonance with the series. The character designs of Inuyashiki are ambitious because of how realistic they try to be. The backgrounds are dull and filled with dreary grays, capturing the embodiment of an average urban city, and one that lacks any form of luster that would bring it to life. The show keeps its use of musical scores to a bare minimum to make it as naturalistically sounding as possible. The way the camera moves in certain scenes gives off the vibe of a more live-action form of direction. It is clear to me that the intention of the director was to get as close as possible as the medium of anime can physically reach to capturing the appeal of live-action series. Except the issue with that is that a large part of the audience the show is guaranteed to get a glance from specifically watch anime because live-action film techniques do not appeal to them stylistically. I'm not saying that I hate live-action-esque directing in anime, nor am I saying that realistic facial expression in anime is an ineffective way to convey emotion. I just feel that the medium of animation allows for other methods of eliciting an emotional response that can do wonders, and choosing to ignore them completely is a waste. To me, the goal of anime should be formalism, to create that which is unseeable to the human eye in the real world, and to instead open the eye of the subconscious, to create something abstract that distances itself from reality, such that it ends up becoming a mere reflection of reality, to give us an understanding of complex ideas through base emotional context that we can empathize with. One show that came into my mind constantly while watching Inuyashiki was Death Parade. Both shows have a very similar appeal in that they explore the human psyche, tackle moral questions, and the overall writing of the two shows are equally as compelling. But stylistically, they could not be further apart. A quick analysis of the opening scene of Death Parade will immediately outline the differences. The use of a cool color palette is reflective of the tone of the series, which is why it is the most prominent. Warmer colors also exist to keep the prominence of the cool colors from ever getting visually boring, and the decision to use darker variations of these warmer colors allows them to sit nicely with the already dark nature of cool colors. The extensive use of lights in the setting allows for the creation of shades in these colors and a distortion of the borders between colors so that the warm and cool colors ultimately form cohesion rather than contrast. The overall effect of these backgrounds is the creation of something visually interesting while simultaneously being reflective of the show's darker tone. The bar mainly follows the same principle, although it amps up the use of lighting to give it and our male lead character, Decum, a more omnipotent presence, prepping us for the understanding of his status as an arbiter. Everything about this place has a dark, majestic feel, fitting for a purgatory. Ultimately, what this does is that it gives the setting a personality, which adds to the tonal nature of the show. It gives us a sense of place, not physically but mentally. It uses the abstract aesthetic of the medium to draw us into its world and allow the more moral questions the story presents to seep into our subconscious, rather than be viewed from the outside. The reason Inuyashiki's directing style has such a big impact on my viewing experience is because it is immersion-breaking. Some of my all-time favorite shows are filled with flaws and nitpicks that can cause it to crumble, but the reason they never have for me is because they are so immersive that I am never bothered by or even notice those flaws. With Inuyashiki, every flaw becomes strangely apparent to me. The use of CGI is bothersome, while other shows that have used similar amounts of CGI don't tend to irritate me. Even while watching its best scenes, I can point to other anime that did them better simply by embracing its medium. I don't want to leave this video off with you assuming that I hated everything about this show, and that the only reason I finished it is to confirm my malice towards it. I gave it a 6 out of 10 on my anime list because I genuinely enjoyed it. It outlines very tragic scenarios as we follow several morally grey characters, and the poetic nature of the battle between Shishigami and Inuyashiki is very thought-provoking. I like the way the story analyzed the negative effects of giving large amounts of power to individuals, as it shows that power will cause bad people to do terrible things, and good people to ultimately ditch their responsibilities by being subjective. It was interesting to see how a good person like Inuyashiki was forced to get his hands dirty, while a bad person like Shishigami failed in his attempts to get his hands clean. I enjoyed watching these two struggle to maintain their humanity, and I ultimately thought that the show's end message, that people with power regardless of will have lost their humanity and no longer belong in the world of mortals and must go, was executed to my satisfaction. That's at least what I got out of the show. Inuyashiki is far from the worst show of the season. It probably isn't the worst show that I completed this season. I'm just frustrated by the fact that my enjoyment of the show is comparable to some of my lesser completes of the season, and the only reason those shows with all their flaws can compete with a story as compelling as this one is because they actually had an understanding of their medium's capabilities and their audience's tastes. Well, that about wraps up my second YouTube video. If you're curious about my thoughts on my fall 2017 favorite show, Juni Taisen, then go check out that video on my channel as well. Aside from that, look forward to more content released at a really slow pace, I guess. See ya?